Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm so glad you found us, and if you're returning, thank you for being part of this incredible community of strong, wise, and amazing women. Today, we're diving deep into something that I know many of you have experienced, something that's been requested countless times in the comments, and something that absolutely needs to be talked about openly and honestly. Before we get started, I want to ask you for a huge favor. If this video resonates with you, if it helps you, if it opens your eyes to something you needed to see, please hit that like button. It truly helps this content reach more women who need to hear this message. Drop a comment below sharing your thoughts or your own experiences, because your story might be exactly what another woman needs to hear today. Share this video with your friends, your sisters, your girlfriends who might benefit from this information. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss content that's designed to empower, educate, and elevate you. Also, if you really want to support the work we do here, creating content that serves you and our community, consider showing your appreciation with a super thanks. Every bit of support allows us to continue making videos that matter, that make a difference, and that speak truth to the experiences so many women face. Your support means the world, and it keeps this channel going strong. Now, let's get into today's topic, and I want you to grab a cup of coffee or tea, get comfortable, because this is going to be eye-opening, validating, and potentially life-changing. Here's what we're uncovering today. There is one phrase, one seemingly innocent, incredibly romantic-sounding statement that players, manipulators, and emotionally unavailable men use to trap older women. And here's the thing that makes this so insidious, so dangerous, so effective. It sounds exactly like what you've been waiting to hear your entire life. It sounds like the answer to your prayers. It sounds like finally, someone sees you, values you, and wants exactly what you want. But it's a trap. A carefully constructed, strategically deployed trap that has ensnared countless intelligent, successful, emotionally mature women. Women with careers, women with life experience. Women who thought they were too smart, too seasoned, too wise to fall for games. And yet they did, not because they were stupid or naive, but because this particular line is designed specifically to target the deepest desires and vulnerabilities of women in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond. The phrase, we're going to get to it in just a moment, but first we need to understand why this works, who uses it, and what happens after they say it. Because understanding the full context, the full manipulation, is what's going to protect you, empower you, and potentially save you from months or years of heartache. Chapter 1. Understanding the landscape. Let's start by setting the scene, because context is everything.
You're a woman of a certain age.
Maybe you're divorced. Maybe you're widowed. Maybe you've been single for a while by choice, focusing on your career, your children, your personal growth. You've lived life. You've experienced love, loss, joy, pain. You know yourself better than you ever have. You're confident in ways you weren't in your 20s or 30s. You know what you want, what you won't tolerate, and what truly matters. And you've decided you're ready. Ready to share your life with someone. Ready to experience companionship, intimacy, partnership again. Not because you need someone to complete you, but because you've reached a point where you'd like to share the beautiful life you've built with a worthy partner, so you put yourself out there. Maybe it's online dating, maybe it's through friends, maybe it's a chance encounter at a coffee shop, a bookstore, a community event, and you meet someone. He's attractive, he's charming, he seems interested, really interested. Not in a casual way, but in a way that feels substantial, meaningful, real. He asks questions, he listens. He remembers details about your life. He compliments you not just on your appearance, but on your intelligence, your accomplishments, your character. He makes you feel seen in a way you haven't felt in years, maybe decades. He texts consistently. He makes plans. He follows through. Everything seems to be moving in the right direction. And then he says it. The line, the trap, the phrase that will determine whether this relationship becomes something real or something that will break your heart. Chapter 2. The line revealed. Are you ready? Here it is. The number one thing players say to trap older women. The phrase that sounds like music to your ears, but is actually a carefully constructed manipulation. I'm done playing games. I'm ready for something real. I want a serious relationship with a mature woman who knows what she wants, or variations of it. I'm tired of dating younger women who don't know what they want. I've been looking for someone like you my whole life. Someone with substance, with depth, with life experience. I'm at a point in my life where I want something meaningful, something lasting, and I think I've found it with you. Does that sound familiar? Have you heard something similar? Has a man said words like these to you, and your heart just soared because finally, someone was on the same page, wanting the same things, ready for the same level of commitment? Here's the devastating truth. For genuine men who truly are ready for a committed relationship, this might be an authentic expression of where they are in life. But for players, for manipulators, for men who have figured out exactly what older women want to hear, this is a weapon, a tool, a strategy that works with alarming effectiveness. Let me be crystal clear about something before we go any further. Not every man who says something like this is a player. Not every man who expresses readiness for a serious relationship is lying. But the players know that this is the golden ticket. They know that older women are often in a different place than younger women. They know what you're looking for, what you've been hoping for, and they use it against you. Chapter 3. Why this works so effectively. Let's break down the psychology of why this particular line is so powerful, so effective, and so difficult to see through. First, it targets your deepest desire. As an older woman, you're likely not interested in casual dating, in games, in situationships, in undefined relationships that go nowhere. You've been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. You want clarity. You want intention. You want someone who knows what they want and isn't afraid to pursue it. So when a man comes along and explicitly states that he wants exactly what you want, it feels like finding water in a desert. It feels like the universe finally answered your prayers. It feels like your patience has been rewarded. Second, it validates you in a profound way. Think about it. He's not just saying he wants a relationship. He's saying he wants a relationship with a mature woman. With someone like you, he's positioning your age, your experience, your maturity not as a liability but as an asset, as exactly what he's looking for. After years of living in a culture that often devalues women as they age, that tells you you're past your prime, that younger is always better. Here's a man saying the opposite, saying that you, exactly as you are what he wants. The validation is intoxicating. Third, it creates instant trust and intimacy. When someone is vulnerable enough to state what they want clearly, when they seem to be putting their cards on the table, when they're being direct and honest about their intentions, it creates a sense of safety. You think, here's someone who communicates openly, who isn't playing games, who respects me enough to be upfront about what he's looking for. And that sense of safety makes you let your guard down, makes you trust faster than you normally would, makes you overlook red flags because surely someone this direct, this clear, this intentional wouldn't be lying. Fourth, it appeals to your sense of being special, chosen, understood. He's not saying he wants just any mature woman. He's saying he wants you. He's implying that he's been searching, that he's been disappointed by others, that he knows quality when he sees it, and he sees it in you. It makes you feel like you've been selected, recognized, appreciated in a way that feels rare and precious. Fifth, it creates urgency and investment. Once you believe you've met someone who wants exactly what you want, who's ready for exactly what you're ready for, you're motivated to make it work. You're invested in the potential of this relationship. You're thinking about the future. You're imagining possibilities. You're emotionally engaged in a way that makes you more likely to overlook inconsistencies, excuse behaviors that don't match his words, and give him the benefit of the doubt over and over again. Chapter 4. The anatomy of the trap now. That we understand why the line works, let's look at how the trap actually operates, because saying the line is just the beginning. The real manipulation comes in what happens after. Once a player has hooked you with this line, once you've bought into the idea that he's serious, that he's ready, that he wants what you want, the relationship typically follows a predictable pattern. Stage 1 is the intense beginning. He comes on strong, texting constantly, making you a priority, introducing you to friends or talking about introducing you to family, making plans for the future, even if they're vague, taking you on dates, being affectionate, basically demonstrating through his actions that his words were true, that he is serious, that this is real. And you're relieved, you're happy, you're hopeful, because everything is lining up perfectly with what he said he wanted. This stage can last weeks or months, long enough for you to become attached, long enough for you to start rearranging your life around this relationship, long enough for you to let him into your heart, your life, your world, long enough for you to start imagining a future together. Stage 2 is the subtle shift. It starts small. He's a little less responsive to texts. He's a little busier with work or other commitments. Plans get postponed or cancelled. The intense attention starts to wane slightly. But because he established such a strong foundation in stage 1, because he said all the right things and did all the right things initially, you don't see it as a red flag. You see it as normal, as the relationship settling into something more realistic, more sustainable. You tell yourself that nobody can maintain that initial intensity forever, that this is just life getting in the way, that it's healthy for both people to maintain their independence and other responsibilities. And he's still saying the right things, still talking about the relationship, still affirming his feelings, still maintaining the narrative that he's serious, he's committed, he's in this. So the words are still there, even as the actions slowly start to contradict them. Stage 3 is where the real trap reveals itself. The inconsistency becomes more pronounced. He's hot and cold, available one week, distant the next, making plans and cancelling them, being affectionate and then pulling back. And when you bring it up, when you express concern, when you point out that his behavior doesn't match what he said he wanted, he does something very strategic. He reassures you. He explains. He has reasons. Work has been stressful. He's dealing with something personal. He's not good at relationships and needs patience. He's scared because he cares about you so much. He's working through issues from his past. He promises to do better. He reminds you that he told you from the beginning what he wanted, that his feelings haven't changed, that he's still committed to building something real with you. And because you want to believe him, because you've already invested time and emotion, because he said exactly what you wanted to hear at the beginning, you give him another chance. And another. Stage 4 is the cycle. The hot and cold becomes a pattern. Closeness followed by distance. Promises followed by disappointments. Affection followed by unavailability. And you're confused because this isn't what he said he wanted. This isn't the serious relationship he claimed to be ready for. This isn't the mature, committed partnership he described. But he keeps maintaining that it is. He keeps insisting that this is what commitment looks like for him, that he's still in it, that he still wants you, that you just need to be patient, understanding, supportive, that if you really care about him, if you really want this relationship, you'll accept him as he is, with all his complications and inconsistencies. Stage 5 is where many women wake up. Months or even years into something that was supposed to be serious, that was supposed to be progressing toward deeper commitment, they realize nothing has actually moved forward. There's been no growth, no progression, no increased integration of lives. You're not more enmeshed in each other's worlds. You haven't met important people in his life. Or if you have, the relationships haven't deepened. You haven't made any concrete plans for a future together. You're in exactly the same ambiguous, undefined place you were months ago, except now you're more attached, more invested, and more confused. And when you finally confront this reality, when you finally say that his actions don't match his words, that this doesn't look like someone who wants something serious, he has one final card to play. He turns it back on you. You're being demanding. You're pressuring him. You're not respecting his process or his timeline. You're creating problems where there aren't any. You're insecure. You're sabotaging the relationship with your expectations. Suddenly, the person who said he wanted something serious is making you feel unreasonable for wanting something serious. The person who said he was ready for commitment is making you feel pushy for expecting commitment. The person who said he valued your maturity and directness is punishing you for being mature and direct enough to call out the discrepancy between his words and actions. Chapter 5. Why players target older women. This might be the most important section of this entire video, so I need you to really listen carefully, really take this in, because understanding why players specifically target older women will help you protect yourself. You might think that players prefer younger women, and many do, but there's a whole category of players who specifically seek out older women, and they do so for very strategic reasons. First, older women are often more financially stable. You've had time to build your career, accumulate assets, create financial security. You own homes, have retirement accounts, have disposable income. You can contribute to or even fund dates, trips, experiences. You're not looking for someone to take care of you financially, which means you're not carefully watching what he spends on you or questioning why he's not investing more. In fact, you're often happy to split costs or even treat because you're independent and don't want to feel like you owe anyone anything. Second, older women are often more forgiving and understanding. You've lived enough life to know that everyone has baggage, everyone has struggles, everyone has imperfections. You're not expecting perfection. You're willing to be patient, to be understanding, to give grace when someone is going through a hard time or working through issues. You pride yourself on being mature enough to accept someone's complexity, and players exploit this. They use your compassion, your understanding, your willingness to be patient as permission to be inconsistent, unreliable, and selfish. Third, older women often have lower relationship expectations in terms of frequency and intensity. You have full lives. You have careers, friends, hobbies, possibly children or grandchildren. You're not expecting to see someone every single day. You're fine with a relationship that allows for independence and personal space. You're not going to be calling constantly, demanding attention, creating drama when he needs to focus on other things. This gives a player the perfect cover to maintain multiple relationships, to come and go as he pleases, to be unavailable without raising immediate suspicion. Fourth, older women are often more discreet. You're not posting every moment of your relationship on social media. You're not introducing a new partner to everyone in your life immediately. You understand that relationships need time to develop before being broadcast publicly. You value privacy, and this means a player can keep you separate from other areas of his life, can maintain relationships with other women, can present himself as single or available in contexts where you'd never know, because you're not monitoring his social media, not demanding to be shown off, not insisting on being integrated into every aspect of his life right away. Fifth, older women are often more emotionally articulate and reflective. You can talk about feelings, process relationship dynamics, discuss issues thoughtfully and maturely. And players use this against you too. They engage in these conversations, agree with your insights, acknowledge problematic patterns, promise to work on things. They know all the right things to say in these discussions. They know how to make you feel heard and validated, while absolutely nothing changes in their behavior. Your ability to communicate effectively becomes just another tool they use to keep you engaged while maintaining the status quo. Sixth, and this is painful but true, older women are often operating from a place of perceived scarcity. The dating pool feels smaller. Societal messages tell you that your options are limited, that you should be grateful for male attention and interest, that you're competing with younger women and can't afford to be too picky or demanding. So when someone shows up saying all the right things, seeming to want exactly what you want, you're motivated to make it work, to hold on to it, to not let it slip away over things that might seem small or petty. You're afraid that if you walk away, you won't find it again. And players know this fear and exploit it ruthlessly. Chapter 6. Red flags that reveal the trap now. That we understand the trap itself and why it targets older women specifically, let's talk about the red flags that reveal when someone who claimed to want something serious is actually running game. Red flag 1. The words and actions don't align. This is the most obvious and most ignored red flag. He says he wants something serious, but he's not doing the things that build serious relationships. He's not consistent. He's not making you a real priority. He's not introducing you to important people in his life. He's not making concrete plans for the future. He's not working to resolve conflicts or address issues. The relationship isn't progressing. Pay attention to actions, not words. Anyone can say anything. Actions reveal truth. Red flag 2. He's vague about specifics. When you ask about the future, about what a serious relationship looks like to him, about what he's ultimately hoping for, about timelines or next steps, he's vague. He speaks in generalities. He talks about wanting something real without defining what that means. He says he sees a future together without describing what that future entails. He agrees that you're building towards something without clarifying what that something is. Vagueness is a weapon players use to keep you hopeful without committing to anything specific. Red flag 3. He love bombs initially and then withdraws. That intense beginning where he's all in, texting constantly, seeing you frequently, being incredibly affectionate and attentive, and then the mysterious shift to being busy, distant, less available. This isn't a natural settling into comfort. This is a strategic manipulation. The initial intensity creates attachment. The withdrawal creates anxiety. Your nervous system gets hooked on the roller coaster. You start chasing the feeling of that initial stage, doing more and accepting less to try to get back there. Red flag 4. He uses his past to excuse his present. He tells you about terrible relationships he's had, about being hurt, about trust issues, about needing to take things slow even though he's ready for something serious. This creates sympathy and patience. You want to be the one who's different, who he can trust, who proves that not all women are like his exes. So when he's inconsistent or unavailable, you remind yourself he's working through things and needs time. Meanwhile, months pass and nothing changes because his past trauma is a convenient excuse for present bad behavior. Red flag 5. He has complicated circumstances that never resolve. He's dealing with a stressful work situation, a sick family member, a difficult ex, financial struggles, legal issues, health problems. Something is always going on that explains why he can't be fully present, can't commit more deeply, can't take next steps in the relationship. And these situations never fully resolve. As soon as one crisis ends, another begins, because they're excuses, not legitimate temporary circumstances. Red flag 6. He positions your expectations as unreasonable. When you express needs, concerns, or desires for more clarity or consistency, he makes you feel like you're asking for too much. He suggests you're being needy, demanding, impatient, or insecure. He compares you unfavorably to how understanding other women have been, or claims you're creating problems in an otherwise good relationship. This is manipulation designed to make you doubt yourself and stop advocating for what you need. Red flag 7. He keeps you separate from his life. Months into what he claims is a serious relationship, you haven't met important people, you're not integrated into his daily life, you don't know much about his routine or his world beyond what he chooses to share. He has reasonable-sounding explanations for this. He values privacy. He wants to make sure things are solid before involving others. His family's difficult. His friends are judgmental. But the reality is, people who are serious about you want to integrate you into their lives. Keeping you separate allows him to control the narrative and potentially maintain other relationships. Red flag 8. He's inconsistent in communication. Some days he's texting all day, other days you don't hear from him at all. Plans are made and broken. He disappears and reappears with explanations. This inconsistency keeps you off balance, always wondering, always waiting, always trying to figure out the pattern. And there is no pattern except that he engages when it's convenient for him and doesn't when it's not. Red flag 9. He refuses to define the relationship or make it official. He says he's serious about you, but he won't agree to exclusivity. Or he agrees to exclusivity, but won't use labels like boyfriend-girlfriend. Or he uses labels but gets defensive when you introduce him as your boyfriend. He wants all the benefits of a committed relationship. Your time, your emotion, your support, your body, maybe even your resources without actually committing to you or being accountable to relationship agreements. Red flag 10. Nothing you do is ever enough. You're patient, you're understanding, you're supportive, you're flexible, you're communicative, you're affectionate, you contribute, you show up, you accommodate, and yet the relationship never seems to improve, never progresses, and he always has something to critique or suggest you could do better. Because your behavior was never the problem. His lack of genuine intention is, and no amount of being the perfect partner will turn someone who's playing games into someone who's serious. Chapter 7. Real stories from real women. I want to share some stories that have been shared with me by women in our community. Names and details have been changed to protect privacy, but these situations are real, and they happen far more often than we'd like to acknowledge. Maria, 52, met David at a work conference. He was charming, successful, and he explicitly told her on their second date that he was done with casual relationships and ready to find his life partner. He said he specifically admired mature women who had their lives together. 6 months in, Maria realized that while David said all the right things, she'd never met any of his friends or family. He was often unavailable on weekends, and they'd never actually discussed moving toward any increased commitment. When she raised these concerns, he accused her of being controlling and said she was ruining a good thing with her insecurity. Maria gave him another 6 months, during which nothing changed. She eventually discovered he was maintaining profiles on multiple dating apps. Jennifer, 47, got involved with Robert, who told her on their third date that his marriage had ended because his ex-wife didn't want what he wanted. A true partnership with a strong, independent woman. He said Jennifer was everything he'd been looking for. A year into their relationship, they were still seeing each other only once or twice a week. He'd never introduced her to his adult children despite claiming to want to, and he'd backed out of 3 different trips they'd planned together at the last minute. Jennifer felt crazy because Robert continually insisted he was committed and serious, but his actions told a different story. After 18 months, she ended it and later heard from a mutual friend that Robert had a similar pattern with multiple other women over the years. Diane, 56, met Paul through mutual friends. He pursued her intensely, telling her he'd been through enough bad relationships to know a good woman when he met one, and that he wanted to build something real. Paul integrated Diane into his friend group, which made her trust that he was serious. But as months went on, she realized that while she'd met his friends, she'd never met his family. He was vague about where the relationship was heading, and he still maintained very separate finances and living situations with no discussion of ever changing that. When Diane expressed wanting more clarity about their future, Paul said she was being materialistic and demanding. 2 years in, Diane discovered Paul had been maintaining an on and off relationship with his ex-girlfriend the entire time. Teresa, 61, met Marcus at a community event. He told her he'd spent his whole life in relationships with the wrong women and that meeting her felt like finally finding someone real. Marcus said he wanted a companion for his retirement years, someone to travel with and build a life with. 8 months in, Teresa had spent thousands of dollars on trips that Marcus claimed he couldn't afford due to a temporary financial setback. She had also done extensive emotional labor helping Marcus through various crises. But when Teresa mentioned wanting to discuss what their life might look like together long-term, Marcus said she was pressuring him and that he needed space. He came back 2 weeks later with apologies and promises, but the pattern repeated 3 more times before Teresa finally recognized it for what it was. These stories all share common elements. The promising beginning with all the right words, the initial actions that seem to back up those words, the gradual shift to inconsistency and unavailability, the explanations and excuses, the turning it back on the woman when she raised concerns, and the ultimate revelation that the man was never as serious as he claimed to be. Chapter 8. Why smart women fall for this? You can hear some of you thinking. How do intelligent, successful, mature women fall for this? Why don't they see it sooner? Why do they stay even when red flags appear? Let's dismantle the victim blaming inherent in those questions and really understand what's happening psychologically. First, these men are skilled. They're practiced. They've done this before. They know exactly what to say and when to say it. They know how to read you, how to identify what you want and need, and how to present themselves as the answer. This isn't stumbling into manipulation. This is strategic, intentional deception, by someone who has refined these skills over time. Second, older women are actually more vulnerable to this particular manipulation, not less. You're relationship-minded. You're sincere. You're capable of commitment. You take people at their word because that's how you operate. You say what you mean and mean what you say, so you naturally assume others do the same. Your maturity and authenticity make you more susceptible to this trap, not less, because you can't imagine being so deliberately deceptive. Third, the desire for partnership is real and valid. You're not desperate or pathetic for wanting a relationship. You're human. Connection is a fundamental human need. After divorce or loss or years of being single, wanting to share your life with someone is natural and healthy. Players exploit this legitimate, beautiful desire. Fourth, the sunk cost fallacy is real. The more time, emotion, and energy you invest in something, the harder it is to walk away, even when you recognize it's not working. You keep thinking about all you've already put in, all the potential you've seen, all the good moments you've shared. Walking away feels like admitting failure, admitting you were fooled, admitting you wasted precious time. So you stay and hope it will turn around. Fifth, intermittent reinforcement is one of the most powerful psychological hooks that exists. When someone is consistently bad, you leave. When someone is consistently good, you relax. But when someone alternates between really good and disappointing, your brain gets hooked on the unpredictability. You get addicted to the high of the good moments and keep chasing that feeling, tolerating the bad moments as the price of admission. Sixth, these men often target women who are particularly empathetic, understanding, and compassionate. They look for women who will make excuses for them, who will be patient with their process, who will support them through challenges. Your beautiful qualities of empathy and compassion become the very things they exploit. Seventh, societal conditioning has taught women to accommodate, to be understanding, to not be too demanding, to be grateful for male attention and commitment. Even strong, independent women carry these messages. So when a man positions your needs as unreasonable, when he suggests you're being difficult or demanding, it triggers these deeply ingrained beliefs and makes you question yourself rather than question him. Eighth, at a certain age, there's often a fear that this might be your last chance, that the dating pool is small, that finding connection is rare, that you should hold on to this even if it's imperfect because who knows if you'll find it again. This fear makes you tolerate things you wouldn't have tolerated when you were younger and felt you had unlimited options. Ninth, these men often choose moments of vulnerability to escalate commitment. They come on strongest when you're dealing with something difficult, when you're feeling lonely, when you've had a setback, when your defenses are down. They position themselves as the support and stability you need in that moment, which creates deep attachment very quickly. 10th, and this is crucial, our brains are wired to believe words over actions, especially in the beginning. When someone explicitly states their intentions, our brains register that as truth and then work to make sense of contradictory behaviors rather than updating our understanding of who this person actually is. This is why players lead with the clear statement of intention. It creates a belief that's hard to dislodge, even in the face of contradictory evidence. Chapter 9. The difference between a player and a genuine man. Not every man who says he wants something serious is a player. So how do you tell the difference? How do you distinguish between someone who's genuine and someone who's running game? A genuine man's words and actions align consistently over time. He says he wants something serious and then demonstrates seriousness through his behavior. He's consistent in communication, reliable in showing up, willing to have difficult conversations, open to feedback, working to resolve conflicts, making you a genuine priority, introducing you to important people in his life, discussing the future concretely, and taking clear steps to move the relationship forward. There's alignment between what he says and what he does, not just in the beginning, but continually. A genuine man is specific about what he wants and what a relationship means to him. When he says he wants something serious, he can describe what that looks like, what he's hoping for, what his vision is. He's not vague. He's not speaking in generalities. He has thought about what he wants and can articulate it. And more importantly, his definition of a serious relationship is actually serious, not some watered-down version that basically describes casual dating with feelings. A genuine man respects your timeline and needs. He understands that if he's saying he wants something serious, you have every right to expect serious relationship behaviors and progression. He doesn't make you feel demanding or impatient for having normal expectations. He doesn't gaslight you into thinking that wanting clarity, consistency, and forward movement is unreasonable. He honors that your time is valuable and that if this is going to be serious, it needs to actually be moving in that direction. A genuine man takes responsibility for his behavior. When there are inconsistencies or disappointments, he owns them. He doesn't make excuses. He doesn't blame circumstances. He doesn't turn it back on you. He acknowledges the impact of his actions, apologizes genuinely, and actually changes his behavior. There's accountability and follow-through, not just words. A genuine man integrates you into his life naturally and progressively. He wants you to meet people who matter to him. He wants to share his world with you. He includes you in plans. He considers you when making decisions that affect his life. He's building a life with you, not keeping you in a separate compartment of his existence. A genuine man can handle conversations about the future without defensiveness or avoidance. He doesn't get weird when you want to discuss where things are heading. He doesn't accuse you of pressuring him when you express needs or desires for clarity. He recognizes that conversations about the future are normal, healthy, and necessary in any relationship that's actually serious. A genuine man's commitment increases over time rather than decreases. He gets more invested, not less. More certain, not less. More present, not less. The trajectory of the relationship is upward, not stagnant or declining. There's growth, deepening, progression. A genuine man has emotional availability to match his stated intentions. He's not just physically present occasionally. He's emotionally engaged. He's vulnerable. He's open. He's working on himself and his own issues rather than using them as excuses for inconsistent behavior. He's actually capable of the relationship he says he wants. A genuine man demonstrates trustworthiness through consistent behavior over time. He does what he says he'll do. He shows up when he says he'll show up. His words are backed by actions. His promises are kept. His commitments are honored. You don't constantly feel confused or off balance because his behavior is predictable in the best way. A genuine man values your peace and security. He doesn't want you to feel anxious, confused, or uncertain about where you stand. He actively works to make you feel secure in the relationship because he recognizes that security is essential for intimacy and connection. He doesn't use your anxiety or uncertainty as a way to keep you hooked. Chapter 10. How to protect yourself. Knowledge is power, but only if you apply it. So let's talk about concrete strategies to protect yourself from this trap. Strategy 1. Slow down. I know when someone seems perfect and says all the right things, you want to dive in. You want to believe it's real. You want to be all in. But slow down. Take time. Let the relationship unfold over months, not weeks. Watch patterns over time. Consistency reveals itself over time. Let him prove through sustained behavior that his words are true before you fully invest your heart. Strategy 2. Watch actions, not words. This cannot be emphasized enough. Anyone can say anything. Words are easy. Actions are truth. Does his behavior match his stated intentions? Is he doing the things that people who want serious relationships do? Is there alignment between what he says and what he does? And when there isn't, believe the actions, not the words. Strategy 3. Maintain your standards and boundaries. Just because someone says what you want to hear doesn't mean you should accept behavior that doesn't meet your standards. Just because he claims to want something serious doesn't mean you should tolerate inconsistency, unavailability, vagueness, or disrespect. Your standards don't disappear because someone seems promising. In fact, someone who's genuinely serious will respect and meet those standards. Strategy 4. Don't ignore red flags. When you see behavior that doesn't match his words, address it. Don't make excuses for him. Don't give him the benefit of the doubt repeatedly. Don't tell yourself stories about why it's okay or why it will get better. Red flags are information. They're warning signs. They're data points about who this person actually is. Honor them. Strategy 5. require consistency before deepening investment. Don't get more invested than he's proven himself worthy of. In the beginning, he's shown you words. That's the smallest investment. Don't respond with your full heart. Wait until he's shown consistent behavior over time. Match your investment to his demonstrated commitment, not his stated intentions. Strategy 6. Have clear conversations about expectations. Don't assume you're on the same page. Don't assume serious means the same thing to both of you. Have explicit conversations about what you're each looking for, what serious means, what expectations you each have, what the vision is. And pay attention to whether he can have these conversations with specificity and whether his subsequent behavior aligns with what was discussed. Strategy 7. Don't isolate yourself or make him your whole world. Keep your life full. Maintain friendships. Pursue interests. Stay connected to your own world. This serves two purposes. First, it keeps you grounded in your own identity and value rather than making him the center of your universe. Second, it gives you perspective. Friends and activities outside the relationship help you see things more clearly than you can when you're completely immersed. Strategy 8. Trust your gut. If something feels off, it is. Your intuition is picking up on misalignments, inconsistencies, and red flags that your conscious mind might be trying to rationalize away. Don't talk yourself out of your instincts. Don't let him talk you out of your instincts. That uneasy feeling is information. That sense that something isn't right is worth listening to. Strategy 9. Be willing to walk away. This is perhaps the most important protection you have. If behavior isn't matching words, if red flags keep appearing, if you're not getting what you need despite clear communication, if the relationship isn't progressing despite his claims of wanting something serious, you have to be willing to walk away. Your willingness to leave is what protects you from staying in something that's not serving you. Strategy 10. Work on your relationship with yourself. The more secure you are in yourself, the more you value yourself, the more you trust yourself, the less susceptible you are to manipulation. When you know your worth, when you know you're desirable and valuable, when you know you'd rather be alone than in a relationship that doesn't honor you, you're less likely to cling to someone who isn't giving you what you deserve. Chapter 11. What to do if you're already in this situation. You're watching this and recognizing that you're currently in a relationship with someone who said all the right things, but whose behavior doesn't match. Maybe you're realizing that you've been trapped. So what do you do now? First, validate your feelings. You're not crazy. You're not imagining things. If you feel confused, if you feel off balance, if you sense inconsistency, you're picking up on real misalignment. Don't let him or anyone else convince you that the problem is your perception rather than his behavior. Second, get clear on what's actually happening. Write down facts, not interpretations, not rationalizations, not potential excuses, but facts. How often do you actually see each other? How does he respond when you need him? What concrete steps has he taken to move the relationship forward? Who in his life knows about you? What plans have been made and kept versus made and broken? Looking at facts rather than feelings or hopes gives you clarity. Third, have a direct conversation. Not an accusatory one, but a clear one. Share your observations. State what you need. Ask for clarity about where things are actually heading and what the plan is. Pay attention to his response. Does he get defensive? Does he turn it back on you? Does he make promises but nothing changes? Or does he hear you, take responsibility, and actually shift his behavior? Fourth, set a timeline for yourself. Not one you share with him necessarily, but one for yourself. Decide how much longer you're willing to see if things change. Maybe it's a month, maybe it's 3 months, but set a point at which you'll evaluate whether behavior has actually changed or whether you're still getting words without actions. Having a timeline prevents you from staying indefinitely while nothing improves. Fifth, stop making excuses for him. Stop rationalizing. Stop telling yourself stories about why his behavior is okay or understandable. Stop focusing on his potential and start focusing on his reality. Stop thinking about who he could be or who he was at the beginning and start seeing clearly who he's showing himself to be now. Sixth, reconnect with yourself and your support system. Relationships like this often create isolation and self-doubt. Reconnect with friends. Talk about what's actually happening. Get perspective from people who care about you and can see things more objectively. Reconnect with activities and interests that make you feel like yourself. Get grounded in who you are outside of this relationship. 7th, prepare yourself emotionally and practically for the possibility of leaving. This doesn't mean you've decided to leave, but it means you're preparing yourself to be able to if that becomes necessary. Make sure you're not financially entangled. Make sure you have emotional support. Make sure you've thought through the practical realities of ending things. Being prepared gives you power and freedom to make the choice that's right for you. 8th, recognize that if things don't change, you have 3 options: accept it as it is without resentment, which is nearly impossible; stay miserable while hoping for change, which is soul-destroying; or leave and create space for something that actually meets your needs. Those are the only options. Staying while resenting, complaining, or hoping without action just prolongs suffering. 9th, if you decide to leave, do it clearly and completely. Not as a manipulation to get him to change, but as a genuine ending. Don't leave the door open. Don't agree to stay friends. Don't leave hope that you might come back if he improves. Clean breaks heal better than prolonged, ambiguous separations. 10th, if you decide to stay because you genuinely see change and commitment, stay with eyes open. Don't go back to making excuses. Don't return to ignoring red flags. Stay grounded in reality. Continue to require that actions match words. Be willing to leave again if patterns return. Giving someone another chance doesn't mean giving them endless chances or tolerating the same behavior repeatedly. Chapter 12. Healing and moving forward. If you've been through this, if you've fallen for this trap and are now dealing with the aftermath, you need to heal. And healing requires several things. First, forgiveness of yourself. You didn't do anything wrong by believing someone, by giving someone a chance, by hoping for connection. You didn't fail by being trusting, by being generous with your heart, by being patient. You were manipulated by someone skilled at manipulation. That doesn't make you stupid or weak. It makes you human and hopeful and brave enough to be vulnerable. Forgive yourself for not seeing it sooner, for staying longer than you should have, for ignoring red flags. You did the best you could with the information and emotional resources you had at the time. Second, processing what happened. Don't bury it. Don't just move on without really feeling and thinking about what you experienced. Journal about it. Talk about it with a therapist or trusted friends. Cry if you need to. Be angry if that comes up. Grieve the relationship you thought you were building, the future you imagined, the person you believed him to be. All of those feelings are valid and need to be felt. Third, learning the lessons without becoming bitter. Yes, some men manipulate. Yes, some people lie. Yes, dating can be painful, but you cannot let this experience close you off to all possibility of connection. The lesson is not that all men are players or that you should never trust anyone. The lesson is about red flags, about watching actions, about protecting yourself while remaining open. It's about wisdom, not bitterness. Fourth, rebuilding your trust in yourself. One of the most damaging aspects of this kind of manipulation is that it makes you doubt your judgment. You trusted someone who wasn't trustworthy. You believed someone who was lying. And now you might not trust yourself to make good choices. But you can learn to trust yourself again by recognizing that you didn't have all the information, that you were deliberately deceived, and that now you have more knowledge and awareness that will inform future choices. Fifth, taking time before diving into something new. Don't rush into another relationship trying to prove to yourself that you can find something real or trying to erase the pain of this one. Take time, heal, process, reconnect with yourself. Get clear on what you want and what you won't tolerate. Learn the lessons. Then, from a place of wholeness rather than wound, you can be open to new connection. Sixth, doing the work to understand your vulnerabilities. Not to blame yourself, but to understand what made you susceptible to this particular manipulation. Was it fear of being alone? Was it believing you had limited options? Was it a tendency to see potential rather than reality? Was it difficulty maintaining boundaries? Understanding your vulnerabilities allows you to strengthen those areas so you're less susceptible in the future. Seventh, practicing being okay alone. The fear of being alone is often what keeps women in bad situations or makes them vulnerable to manipulation. If you can get to a place where being alone feels better than being with someone who doesn't honor you, you're protected. If you can build a life that feels full and meaningful without a partner, then a partner becomes something you want, not something you need. And that shift in energy changes everything. 8th, celebrating your strength. You survived this. You learned from it. You're wiser now. You're stronger now. You know more about yourself and what you will and won't accept. You've proven to yourself that you can end something that's not serving you, that you can choose yourself, that you can face difficult emotions and come out the other side. That's worth celebrating. 9th, staying open to love despite this experience. I know it's tempting to close yourself off, to decide that dating isn't worth it, that men can't be trusted, that you're better off alone. And maybe for a season you need that protection. But ultimately you deserve love. You deserve partnership. You deserve someone who honors you. And staying open to that possibility, while also protecting yourself with the wisdom you've gained, is how you move forward. 10th, using your experience to help others. Share your story when you're ready. Help other women recognize these patterns. Be the voice of wisdom and warning for someone who might be where you were. Your pain can have purpose if it prevents someone else's. Chapter 13, recognizing the variations. Core trap we've been discussing is someone saying they want something serious and then not backing it up with action, but this manipulation comes in variations. Let's look at some of them so you can recognize the trap even when it's dressed differently. Variation 1, the wounded warrior. He tells you he wants something serious, but he's been so hurt in the past that he needs to take things slowly. He needs patience. He needs understanding. His wounds are presented as the reason for his inconsistency, unavailability, or inability to commit more deeply. And because you're compassionate, because you want to be the one who heals him, who shows him that not all women are like his exes, you tolerate behavior that doesn't match a serious relationship. Years can pass with him still working through his wounds, still healing, still not quite ready, while you wait patiently for him to be ready for what he claimed to want from the beginning. Variation 2, the logistics guy. He absolutely wants something serious with you. It's just that life is complicated right now. He's dealing with a demanding job, a messy divorce, financial stress, health issues, family obligations. As soon as these logistics are sorted out, as soon as life calms down, he'll be able to fully commit. But life never calms down. There's always a new logistical challenge. Because the logistics aren't the real issue. His lack of genuine intention is variation 3, the future faker. He talks constantly about the future, about trips you'll take together, about how he wants to introduce you to his family at the right time, about how you'll spend holidays together, about growing old together. He paints beautiful pictures of your shared future. And you feel secure because someone who talks about the future must be serious, right? Except nothing actually happens. None of those plans materialize. The future talk is designed to keep you invested while nothing actually progresses in the present. Variation 4, the philosophy guy. He believes in taking things day by day, in being present, in not putting pressure on relationships with expectations or labels. He wants something real with you, but he doesn't believe in traditional relationship structures or timelines. He's all about organic development. This sounds evolved and enlightened, but it's often a way to avoid commitment, avoid accountability, and maintain a relationship that serves him without having to actually commit to you. Variation 5, the busy, successful man. He's genuinely busy. He's genuinely successful. He's genuinely in demand, and he genuinely wants something serious with you. He's just got so much on his plate right now. You admire his success, his ambition, his full life. So you accommodate his schedule. You accept seeing him when it's convenient for him. You don't complain when he cancels because work came up. Years can pass where you're fitting into the margins of his life, accommodating his schedule, being the understanding partner while he builds his empire. But the truth is, people make time for what matters to them. If someone wants a serious relationship, they create space for it in their life. They don't make you an afterthought to their career. Variation 6. The divorce isn't final guy. He's leaving his wife. He's done with his marriage. He's just waiting for the right time to make it official. He wants to be with you, wants something serious with you, sees a future with you, but he can't move forward until the divorce is final. And the divorce is always almost final, always about to happen, always just a few more months. This can go on for years, because he's either lying about leaving, or he's comfortable with the current arrangement where he has both the marriage and you. Or he's genuinely ambivalent and using the divorce as a way to keep you in limbo while he figures out what he wants. Variation 7. The right person, wrong time guy. Everything is perfect between you. You're perfect for each other. He's never felt this way about anyone. You're exactly what he wants. It's just the timing is off. If only he'd met you at a different time in his life. But he can't fully commit right now because of where he is in life. So you stay in this undefined space, believing that eventually the timing will be right. Eventually he'll be ready. But the timing is never right because for the right person, people make the timing work. Wrong time is usually just code for not enough commitment. Variation 8. The slow burn guy. He moves incredibly slowly. He believes in really taking time to build a foundation. He doesn't believe in rushing things. He wants something serious, but he thinks modern dating moves too fast, and he values a slow, organic development. This sounds reasonable and thoughtful, but years into a relationship, if there's been no progression, no deepening of commitment, no integration of lives, the slow burn is just an excuse for stagnancy. Moving slowly in the beginning makes sense. Still moving slowly after years is a red flag. Variation 9. The spiritual bypasser. He's very into personal growth, consciousness, spirituality. He doesn't believe in attachment or neediness or expectations. He values freedom and flow. He wants deep connection with you, but he doesn't want to limit that connection with conventional relationship structures. This can sound very evolved, very enlightened, but often it's just a way to avoid commitment and accountability while maintaining access to intimacy, sex, emotional support, and companionship without having to actually commit to you. Variation 10. The friend transition guy. You were friends first, or colleagues, and there's been a transition to something more. He wants to see where this goes naturally without putting pressure on it. He doesn't want to ruin the friendship by rushing. He values what you have and wants to be careful. This can sound thoughtful and protective of the relationship, but if months or years pass without the relationship clearly defining itself as romantic and committed, the friend transition excuse becomes a way to keep you in an ambiguous space where he gets the benefits of a relationship without the accountability. Chapter 14. Why some women recognize it and leave while others stay. One of the questions I get asked most frequently is why some women seem to spot this manipulation quickly and leave while others stay for months or years. It's not because some women are smarter or stronger. It's about several factors. Factor 1, past experience. Women who have been through this before, who have stayed too long in situations where words didn't match actions, often recognize the pattern more quickly the next time. They've learned the hard way, and that learning protects them. Women experiencing this manipulation for the first time don't have that experiential knowledge to draw from. Factor 2, support system. Women who have friends and family they trust, who they talk to about their relationships, who offer perspective and feedback, are more likely to recognize manipulation than women who are isolated or keep their relationships private. Outside perspective can see things you can't see when you're emotionally invested. Factor 3, self-esteem and self-worth. Women who fundamentally believe they deserve to be treated well, who won't compromise on their standards, who would rather be alone than disrespected, walk away faster. Women who doubt their worth, who feel lucky to have any male attention, who've internalized messages about their diminished value as older women, are more likely to stay and hope things will improve. Factor 4, financial independence. Women who are financially secure, who own their own homes, who don't need a partner for financial stability, have the freedom to walk away from relationships that aren't serving them. Women who are financially struggling or insecure might be more vulnerable to staying in situations where they hope the relationship will provide financial security or partnership. Factor 5, fear of being alone. Women who are comfortable alone, who have built full lives, who have interests and friendships and purpose beyond partnership, can leave situations that aren't working. Women who are terrified of being alone, who see their worth through the lens of being partnered, who feel like life is meaningless without a relationship, are more likely to stay in bad situations. Factor 6. Attachment style. Women with secure attachment tend to recognize inconsistency and unavailability as red flags and respond by creating distance or leaving. Women with anxious attachment often respond to inconsistency by pursuing harder, trying to figure out what they did wrong, working to get back to the initial intensity. Understanding your attachment style can help you understand your patterns in relationships. Factor 7. Willingness to trust intuition. Some women are very connected to their intuition and trust those inner alarm bells. They might not be able to articulate exactly what's wrong, but they feel something's off, and they honor that. Other women have learned to distrust their intuition, to rationalize away uncomfortable feelings, to believe logic and explanations over instinct. The more you trust your gut, the faster you'll recognize when something isn't right. Factor 8. Tolerance for discomfort. Leaving a relationship, even one that isn't working, is uncomfortable. It's painful. It requires sitting with difficult emotions. Some women have higher tolerance for that discomfort and can move through it towards something better. Other women will do almost anything to avoid that discomfort, which means staying in situations that are familiar, even if they're painful, rather than facing the unknown of starting over. Factor 9. Clarity about what they want. Women who are crystal clear about what they want in a relationship, what their non-negotiables are, what they will and won't accept, can evaluate more objectively whether a relationship is meeting those standards. Women who are less clear, who are figuring it out as they go, who don't have defined standards, are easier to manipulate and keep confused. Factor 10. Understanding of manipulation tactics. Women who have educated themselves about manipulation, about player tactics, about red flags, about how these patterns operate, recognize them when they're happening. Knowledge is power. The more you understand how manipulation works, the less susceptible you are to it. Chapter 15. Having the courage to walk away. The hardest part of all of this isn't recognizing the manipulation. It's finding the courage to walk away. Because walking away requires several difficult things. It requires accepting that you were deceived, that someone you cared about, someone you opened your heart to, someone you hoped to build a life with, wasn't who they presented themselves to be. That's a painful reality to accept. It requires accepting that time was lost. Months or years invested in something that wasn't real, that wasn't going where you thought it was going, that wasn't what he said it was. That's a hard pill to swallow, especially as an older woman who's very aware that time is precious. It requires facing uncertainty. When you're in a relationship, even a bad one, there's a certain security in knowing what to expect, in having someone, in having plans. Walking away means facing the unknown, being single again, not knowing if you'll find what you're looking for. It requires dealing with shame and embarrassment, admitting to yourself and possibly others that you were fooled, that you stayed too long, that you ignored red flags. There can be a lot of shame in that, even though there shouldn't be. It requires grieving the relationship you thought you had, grieving the future you imagined, grieving the person you thought he was, grieving the time invested, grieving the hope. Grieving is painful, and we often avoid pain, which keeps us stuck. It requires trusting yourself, trusting that you're seeing the situation clearly, trusting that you're making the right choice, trusting that you'll be okay, trusting that something better is possible. When manipulation has eroded your self-trust, this is incredibly difficult. It requires choosing yourself, choosing your peace over the possibility of him changing, choosing your standards over your attachment, choosing your future over your past investment, choosing your worthiness over your fear. Choosing yourself can feel selfish, especially for women who've been taught to accommodate and compromise. It requires accepting that love isn't enough. You might love him. You might see his good qualities. You might recognize his potential. But if his behavior doesn't match his words, if he's not capable of or willing to give you what you need, love isn't enough. That's a hard truth. It requires believing you deserve better, If you don't believe you deserve consistency, respect, genuine commitment, and a relationship that actually matches what someone says they want to give you, you won't leave. You'll settle, you'll accept, you'll wait, you'll hope. Believing you deserve better is foundational to having the courage to walk away. It requires being willing to start over. Starting over in midlife or beyond feels daunting. Getting back out there, dating again, opening yourself up again, risking being hurt again. The thought of starting over can keep you stuck in something that isn't working because starting over feels harder than staying. But here's what I want you to hear. Walking away from something that isn't serving you isn't giving up. It's not failure. It's not weakness. It's courage. It's strength. It's self-respect. It's choosing yourself. It's making space for something that actually matches what you deserve. Walking away is often the bravest, most loving thing you can do for yourself. Chapter 16. What a real relationship looks like. After all this talk about manipulation and players and red flags, let's talk about what a genuine, healthy, serious relationship actually looks like, so you have a clear picture of what you're looking for and deserve. A real relationship has consistency. You're not constantly wondering where you stand, when you'll hear from him next, whether he meant what he said. There's reliability, predictability, security. You know you matter because he shows you through consistent behavior. A real relationship has progression. Things move forward naturally. You meet each other's important people. You integrate into each other's lives. You have conversations about the future that result in actual plans and steps. The relationship deepens and grows over time rather than staying stagnant. A real relationship has mutual effort. You're both invested, both making time, both communicating, both working through challenges, both compromising. It's not one person doing all the heavy lifting while the other coasts on initial charm and promises. A real relationship has open communication. You can talk about anything, including difficult things. You can express needs, concerns, desires without fear of being attacked or punished. He welcomes communication rather than shutting it down or making you feel bad for having it. A real relationship has accountability. When someone makes a mistake or hurts you, they own it, apologize genuinely, and change their behavior. There's growth. There's learning. There's improvement over time because both people are accountable to the relationship. A real relationship has integration. You're part of each other's lives in meaningful ways. You're not kept separate. You're not compartmentalized. Your lives are blending and meshing because that's what happens when two people are building something together. A real relationship has future orientation. You both think about and plan for the future together, not in vague terms, but in concrete ways. There are actual discussions, actual plans, actual steps being taken toward that shared future. A real relationship has emotional safety. You feel safe to be vulnerable, to share your true self, to express emotions. You're not walking on eggshells. You're not afraid of his reaction. There's a secure base where both people can be authentic. A real relationship has respect. He respects your time, your feelings, your needs, your boundaries, your life. You respect his. The respect is mutual and evident in how you treat each other. A real relationship has partnership. You're a team. You support each other. You celebrate each other. You face challenges together. It's not one person serving the other's needs while their own go unmet. That's what you deserve. That's what a serious relationship looks like. And anything less than that, no matter what someone says they want, isn't serious. It's not commitment. It's not real partnership. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Chapter 17, Final Thoughts and Empowerment. We're coming to the end of this video, and I want to leave you with some final thoughts that I hope will empower you, protect you, and remind you of your incredible worth. You are not damaged goods because you're older. You are not less desirable. You are not desperate or lucky to receive male attention. You are a woman who has lived, learned, grown, and become someone of depth, wisdom, and substance. The right person will see that and value it. Your desire for a serious relationship is not a weakness. It's not desperation. It's not something to be ashamed of or to hide. It's a beautiful human desire for connection and partnership. Don't let anyone make you feel bad for wanting what you want. You have every right to have standards and expectations. Wanting consistency isn't demanding. Wanting someone whose actions match their words isn't controlling. Wanting progression in a relationship that's supposed to be serious isn't impatient. These are normal, healthy, reasonable expectations. Not everyone who says they want something serious is lying, but some are. And the only way to know which is to watch behavior over time. Don't give away your trust, your heart, your time, your energy based on words alone. Require that actions match words before you fully invest. You are smart enough, strong enough, and valuable enough to walk away from situations that aren't serving you. Even if you've invested time, even if you care about him, even if it's hard, even if you're afraid of being alone, you are capable of choosing yourself. Being single is better than being in a relationship that makes you feel confused, uncertain, anxious, or unvalued. Being alone is better than being with someone who isn't showing up the way they said they would. Your peace matters more than having a relationship. You deserve someone who is certain about you, who prioritizes you, who demonstrates through consistent action that you matter, who wants to build a life with you and actually takes steps to do that. You deserve someone whose words and actions align. You deserve someone who makes you feel secure and valued and cherished. Don't settle for less. If you've been through this manipulation, if you've fallen into this trap, if you've stayed too long hoping for change that never came, forgive yourself. You were trying to create connection. You were being hopeful and vulnerable and open. Those are beautiful qualities. The problem wasn't you. It was someone who exploited those qualities. Learn from the experience, but don't let it close you off. Don't let it make you bitter or cynical. Don't let it convince you that all men are players or that love isn't possible. Let it make you wiser, more discerning, more protective of your heart, while still remaining open to genuine connection. Trust yourself. Trust your intuition. Trust your ability to see clearly when you're willing to look honestly. Trust your strength to walk away when needed. Trust your resilience to heal and start over. Trust your worthiness to receive real love. Trust yourself. And finally, know that you are not alone. So many women have experienced this. You're part of a community of women who understand, who've been there, who see you and support you. Reach out. Share your story. Support other women. We're stronger together. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I know this was a heavy topic. I know it might have been painful if you recognized yourself in these patterns, but my hope is that it was also empowering, validating, and eye-opening in ways that will protect you going forward. If this video resonated with you, if it helped you see something more clearly, if it gave you language for something you've experienced, please give it a thumbs up. That really does help this content reach more women who need to hear this message. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss future content. We talk about relationships, self-worth, navigating life as an older woman, and so many other topics that I think will serve you. Drop a comment below. Tell me your thoughts. Tell me your experiences. Tell me what resonated or what you'd like to hear more about. Your comments not only help the algorithm push this video to more people, but they also create community. Your story might be exactly what another woman needs to read today. So please share. Share this video with women in your life who might benefit from it. Your friend who's been confused about her relationship. Your sister who's getting back into dating. The women in your book club, or your exercise class, or your workplace. This information can be life-changing, and sharing it is an act of love and protection. And if you really want to support the work we do here, if you want to help us continue creating content that educates, empowers, and elevates women, consider showing your appreciation with a super thanks. Every single contribution, no matter how small, makes a difference and allows us to keep doing this work. Your support is what keeps this channel going and allows us to create more content that serves you. Remember, you are valuable, you are worthy, You are deserving of genuine love and commitment. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Don't settle for words without actions. Don't compromise your standards. Don't ignore your intuition. And never ever forget that being alone is better than being with someone who doesn't cherish you the way you deserve to be cherished. Until next time, take care of yourself. Honor yourself. Love yourself. And know that I'm rooting for you. You've got this. I believe in you. And I'll see you in the next video.